Welcome everyone to another episode of Chad Sports Talk. You don't know, my name's Chad. Take a dive into world sports. And this is my NFL Week 12 recap video. Yes, we're finally done with the Thanksgiving holidays. Hope everyone had a wonderful time with friends and family and gorged themselves in glorious food. And yeah, I might have done that a few times myself. But now it's time to recap last week's action and kind of go over my picks. But before we do that, if you could, please go ahead and smash that thumbs up for me. It pleases YouTube gods, helps this channel out. And also, you can subscribe. I've noticed if you looking at my analytics, I see a lot of viewers and not a lot of subscribers. Doesn't hurt. You can go subscribe and really helps this channel out. So let's just go ahead and take a look back of last week. And it was an abysmal week for me. This was like one of my worst weeks. I just don't know what happened. Maybe I got the pre-turkey coma kicked in on me, and I ended up going 7-8. Like I said, I'm not able to seem to really pick these games very well. Even my son, he's at the same boat as I am with his picks. So neither one of us did very well. Had a late comeback win to tie him. So yeah, definitely one of those bad weeks for us. And just go ahead and just recap the games from Turkey Day. Go ahead and start off with the Chicago Bears take on Detroit Lions. You know, a Thanksgiving staple, the Lions being there. This was a very, very slow game. Tends to be the typical Bears game nowadays. It's not, they're not hot and flashy. They're just slow, methodical. They have a couple flashy plays, make you excited. Same thing with Detroit. And then Andy Dalton's making his first start since the beginning of the season because of injuries to Justin Fields. And it was just like I said, very, very slow, methodical. Andy Dalton was doing just enough. Had another 300-yard passing day. He did throw a touchdown. Detroit did lose Swift in this game, so the running attack was slightly decreased a bit. But Detroit was able to take the lead in the third for 14-13, and then in the final quarter, it was a slow, methodical, time-consuming drive that Chicago took until the final seconds, where Santos was able to hit a game-winning field goal at the end, and Chicago beat Detroit 16-14. Now, before this game, there's a lot of rumors that Nagy was going to get fired regardless of in this game. And if that was the case, they would have fired him before the game started and not let him coach because he wouldn't care anyways. And with this one, I think Matt Nagy will still be the coach for another week. And I think his tenure with Chicago is on a very, very, very short leash. I think if Chicago loses another game, you might see Nagy gone. I have a feeling he's gone to the end of the year regardless. It's just he has not been able to do what I think he promised or what he was expected to do, especially with Trubinsky, who had a great sophomore year and then just his career just pretty much plummeted after that. So we'll have to see for that one. But let's continue on with the madcap Thanksgiving days. And another Thanksgiving staple, a Dallas Cowboy home game, and they hosted the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, Dallas was out their big two top receivers this game because of protocol issues, and the Raiders took advantage. They were just all over them. In the beginning, it was just Raiders could do anything. Dallas couldn't really muster much of a drive. And it seems like Zeke maybe wasn't 100%, and they just gave up trying to run the ball, period. They relied heavily on Dak Prescott to make the plays. Now, Dak is a very capable quarterback, but he doesn't have his prime targets, so a lot of these drives, and then failure because these receivers were making the catches. Maybe they're a little out of place. Maybe Dak's throwing a little off, but he still had 375 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. There wasn't enough. Carr was able to do what he needed to do, and it was the game actually went to overtime. In overtime, Dallas couldn't score anything, and then Las Vegas is just that last possession was unreal. First, Vegas had the penalty, sent him back, and then Dallas jumped both sides. So, gave him back to 5 yards. And then they jumped offsides again, gave him the first down. Vegas like, nope, we're kicking the field goal. They kicked it. Vegas wins 36-33 in OT in the Big D, and Dallas is going in the wrong direction. And to finish off with the Thanksgiving feast of NFL games, he had Buffalo heading down to New Orleans. And this is one of these games that the way the Bills are playing, I didn't know. And it's hard to determine which Satan's team is going to show up. It seems when I pick them, they lose. And when I pick against them, they win. And unfortunately, I picked them this week. And they didn't bother showing up. Not having Al Camaro is another issue they didn't have. He was out of the lineup again this week. And Josh Allen pretty much did what he had to do. He had 260 yards passing, but he had 4 touchdowns. And they just did everything right. Stifled New Orleans and beaten quite handily the Saints 31-6. Sunday. This is where I had a huge issue with a lot of my games. And let's just go ahead and start this off with Cincinnati hosting Pittsburgh. This is the one I thought Cincinnati was going to win easily. This is the way how Pittsburgh's been playing lately. They've been kind of a hit and miss. And Cincinnati didn't disappoint. This was definitely a Joe Mixon show. He had 165 yards on the ground, 2 TDs. Higgins was the focal point. The passing game, we had 114 yards and a touchdown. And the Bengals mauled the Steelers 41-10 to put themselves in a commanding position in the AFC North. And we'll kind of see what happens with Pittsburgh the rest of the season. Could this be the first year to having a losing record under Tomlin? And then we'll go to Indianapolis, where the Colts were hosting the Buccaneers. And this is the one I thought Colts could win. Tampa Bay has been kind of slumping as well. And this is one of these games that kind of went back and forth. Tampa Bay kind of went, okay, we'll go, give to Leonard Fournette, who had a phenomenal game overall. He had 4 total touchdowns, including 3 on the ground, 100 yards. Indianapolis went away from their running attack a little bit. They didn't do that till later in the game, which is really, out of their style. This is how they're kind of winning with the legs of Taylor. And Carson Wentz had another, stellar game. He had over 300 yards, 3 TDs. Gronkowski made his return for the Bucs, had over 100 yards receiving. And at the end of the game, Indianapolis was able to score, but they left way too much time on the clock for Tom Brady. Give him plenty of time to do a last drive, and Tampa Bay beat Indianapolis 38-31. Headed down to Miami, we had the Carolina Panthers visiting the Dolphins. This is one of these games where McCaffrey was back in action. I couldn't go against him because every time I bet, went against him, he always beats me. Cam Newton, I figured might have that off week last week, so he'd be back. No. There's a reason why Panthers didn't keep him. There's a reason why New England cut him. Cam's his performance was bad. He even got benched in this game. Losing McCaffrey really hurt them as well. He is now he injured his ankle again. He has out for the rest of the season. So I think the Panthers' season is pretty much down the drain. Tua Tagovailoa, which I'm sure I'm butchering that name no matter how many times I hear it. 230 yards in the air and a touchdown. Gaskin was key. He had 2 touchdowns himself on the ground. Waddle had received 137 yards with a touchdown, and Miami was way too much for the Panthers and beat them quite handily, 33-10. Then up in Foxborough, where the Patriots were hosting the Tennessee Titans, pretty much a clash of possible playoff team, maybe a possible playoff matchup in the first round. And this is one of these games that, I know Mark Vrabel, out-Patriot Belichick a few years ago in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen this year. Tennessee seems to be going the wrong direction. And with that being said, that was pretty much it. Mac Jones right now is being a phenomenal quarterback. Definitely in the running fire for Rookie of the Year. And he did not disappoint. He had 310 yards passing, 2 TDs. He was on point. What he had to do, and New England just dominated Tennessee throughout this game. Shut them out in the second half, and for a 36-13 victory, and take pretty much really stole a commanding lead in the AFC East, and probably one of the best teams in the AFC right now. The MetLife, where the Giants were hosting their divisional rival Eagles. This is the one I thought the Eagles were going to win. The Eagles were just trending in the right direction. Then the real Eagles showed up. Jalen Hurts couldn't do anything correct. It was just a bad performance by Philadelphia. For most of the game, just could not do anything correct. They were shut out for 3 quarters. This is how bad it was. And the Giants weren't that much better either, because Jones only had 202 yards and a touchdown. And it was just the last play of the drive. Jalen Hurts tried to do pretty much somewhat of a Hail Mary to the end zone to try to win, and fell short. And the Giants held on, beat Philadelphia 13-7 to tighten up that NFC East divisional race a little bit. As now the Giants are pretty much 3 games back. Then we head to Jacksonville, where the Jaguars playing host to the Falcons. This game I knew was going to be close because of how Jacksonville's been playing. But I always thought Atlanta was going to win this one. And Trevor Lawrence did not disappoint for Jacksonville fans. He had over 200 yards passing, a touchdown. The Swiss Army knife known as Cordell Patterson. And 108 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns for the Falcons. And that was enough for Atlanta to escape Jacksonville with a 21-14 victory. Another garbage bowl. The Texans were hosting the Jets. Probably 2 of the worst teams right now in the AFC. And this was just a garbage match, really. But, Tyrod Taylor trying to do his best. Had 2 touchdowns, both in the second quarter of the game. That was pretty much it. That was like a baseball score right there. Astros beating the Yankees 14-11. But that was the halftime. And one of the lowlights of the season was, I don't know what Zach Wilson was doing. I don't know if he's watching old game filled the Jets. He wanted to do his own bumble. But he ended up trying to do a shuffle pass and hit the back of one of his linemen downfield who wasn't even paying attention for the ball. Bounced off his head and got intercepted. Really? And it only happens to the Jets. That's just plain simple. That's just the Jets that does this. But somehow, then they cost them a game. And the Jets beat the Texans 21-14. Next, we head up to Mile High City, where the Broncos playing host to the Chargers in the key divisional game. And once again, Chargers one of these teams that always seems to do very well when they come against stiffer competition, but once they come against teams that not quite up to their same level, it seems like they underperform. This is one of the games I thought the Chargers should win easily. Denver had other ideas. Justin Herbert had 300 yards, over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. But he also had a couple key picks. Another pick, one of those key picks was ran back by Patrick Surtain for a touchdown. And Denver was able to do what they had to do in the key moments of the game and just outmuscled the Chargers 28-13 to really stifle the Chargers' charge moving forward after their great beginning of the season. And Denver's been slowly climbing back up into that playoff picture. And then the game of the week was the Packers playing host to the Rams. Possible preview of the NFC Championship game, playoff game. I mean, I think the Rams are going to make the playoffs regardless of how they're playing right now. And the Packers just, I don't know, they're playing at home, and it's just like I said, that's just Rodgers' neighborhood. He does what he wants. Broken toe and all. He's got 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. A.J. Dillon had 69 yards on the ground. Devontae Adams had 104 yards receiving as the Packers defense stifled the Rams offense and just outmuscled them and beat them 36-28 to put pressure on Arizona for that number 1 seed in the NFC. And we'll see how the rest of the season goes, especially for the Rams. They need to start, worrying about it because there's another team in that division starting to creep up. And speaking of that, the 49ers were playing host to the Vikings, and it was just one of these weird games for Minnesota. They always tend to do very well, but they always find ways to lose. And it doesn't help when Kirk Cousins lines up underneath the guard instead of the center for a snap. Even the running back saw that one. But on a more serious note, Dalvin Cook got injured in this game as well. This will possibly dislocate his shoulder or his shoulder injury, so he's going to be out at least 2 games. They didn't put him on IR because he figured he'd be back quicker than that. So it's going to hamper Minnesota the next couple of games. And with this one, Kirk Cousins tried to do his best. I mean, he had 238 yards and 2 touchdowns, but once again, a key interception by, I'm sure I'm going to butcher his name, Alan Shire. That helped set up Mitchell for the 49ers because he had 133 yards on the ground and 8 touchdowns, and that touchdown actually helped seal the victory for San Francisco as the defenses took over that 4th quarter and no one could score. 49ers beat Minnesota 34-26 to get 1 game behind the Rams in the NFC West. And Minnesota's starting to fall out of the possible playoff picture. Then Sunday night, Baltimore and Cleveland. Oh my God, was this first half horrible. It was pretty much, you take the ball. No, you have the ball. No, really, you have the ball. No, I insist. You take the ball. No. You have the ball. It was just a turnover festival in that first half where, Lamar Jackson was trying to drive the ball somewhere he shouldn't be throwing the ball to, and ended up getting intercepted. And then Cleveland just turned out, gives the ball right back to Baltimore. I mean, it was just a horrible performance. Lamar Jackson was not doing what he was supposed to do. Even though at the end of the half they were up 6-3, and then they were Baltimore's doing what it had to do. Lamar, I guess, cleared his head. Had some really precise, not really precise, but timely throws. He had one to Andrew. He had a couple to Andrews that was just spectacular. Lamar was escaping to his right, pointed Andrews downfield, telling him to go a little bit further. Here comes the ball, and the ball got thrown to him. He got pulled down by Harrison, so there's the PI, but he still ended up making the catch with one hand. I mean, it was a spectacular catch. That set up the score. And then he also had another one where Lamar was just running for his life, but both from Garrett and Clowney. And he ran backwards, it looks like 20 yards, chuck it down the field, and then there's Andrews again all by himself with a touchdown. And you can see the frustration by Clowney, because all day Clowney was so close to getting Lamar Jackson, and he was just gone. Saw him throw his helmet on the ground. Didn't get called for that one. But Myles Garrett, all thing he could do was just shake his hand after that play. I mean, it was spectacular. Baltimore did just enough to beat Cleveland 16-10. It was just, like I said, it was a bad performance all the way around, but it was by both those teams in the first half. It was the defensive showdown. Baltimore's offense just seems to be slightly better because the Baltimore took away the Browns' rushing attack. And to Cleveland's Super Bowl aspirations this season seems to be further and further away from reality, as well as possible playoffs berth. And then last night, oh wow, was this a weird game? Washington had a touchdown, but in a weird thing. In a weird thing, they were set up for an extra point. They got blocked. As they're running back, the kicker for Washington was chasing them down and pulling a hamstring. And they ran it back for a 2-point conversion. So it was 9.5, and then but the bad thing is Washington lost their kicker. So that means no field goal attempts, no extra points. And this will be really, really key for the rest of the game. Come out at halftime, they end up scoring a touchdown, had to do the 2-point conversion. They end up getting it, so they're up, 17-9. A really weird baseball game between the Nationals and Mariners. And it was the end of the game. I mean, it looked like everything was Washington had this very long, time-consuming drive. I mean, that was the key to the game. Washington pretty much had the ball for almost 3 full quarters. That's how much they controlled the tempo of the game and kept the Seattle offense off the field, which it's a great game plan. When you're going against Russell Wilson, you just keep him on the bench. You just go. You just sit over there. We got this. But because they had no kicker, they had to go for a 4th and goal. And it looked like a catch, but I think one replay angle kind of showed that the ball was a little bit loose, and the nose hit the ground, bounced back into the guy's hand. No touchdown. So that means Wilson had to drive the length of the field with over 2 minutes left on the clock, which is more than ample time for Russell Wilson to make this drive. But I think it was an injury to the Washington safety that kind of helped set up the possible game-tying touchdown because the 2 safeties they had in the backfield are already taking 2 other spots. The other guy back there is supposed to go with the receiver. Didn't go with him, so he's left wide open. Wilson just stepped into the pocket, made a accurate throw, hit the touchdown. Now they're down by 2. Well, now Seattle has to go for a 2-point conversion. See, Russell Wilson had all time in the world back there to finish, doing a leftover casserole back there, and he tried to throw a 2-point, but Landry, wasn't Landry, but Fuller just popped. Was reading his eyes and just slid over. Russell didn't see him, just stepped in front of the throw, intercepted the 2-point try. But that's not the end of this saga, because now Seattle has to go for onside kick. Now, we all know onside kicks in the NFL is not very successful. Seattle kicked it, recovered the onside kick, but wait a minute. One of their players was lined up incorrectly on the kickoff. Apparently between the hashes is a no-player zone. That's all for the kicker. And one of the Seattle players, I guess, trying to cheat that way, lined up on the hash, illegal formation, move it back 5 yards, re-kick it. They do exact same kick. Exact same player stepped out of the way again, but this time recovered by Washington, sealed the victory. Washington escapes with a 17-15 victory to kind of keep their aspirations for postseason alive, and Seattle's is in serious jeopardy of not happening. They definitely have to win the next 6 games to be probably in the hunt, but it's just right now unreal and how bad the Seattle season has gone. So it's you look at standings right now. Baltimore still is the number 1 team in the AFC. You still have New England, Tennessee, Kansas City as your the other divisional leaders at this present point in time, with Cincinnati, Buffalo, and the Chargers rounding off your 7. So looking at those teams in the hunt, there's still a lot of them there. I mean, definitely Denver, Vegas, Indy, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Miami. All these teams are still well within striking range, as Miami's only game and a half out. So there's still lots and lots of football still left to go. Remember, it's a 17-game season, so there's still a lot to go for that one. But you could probably go ahead and write off the Jets, Texans, and Jaguars to see who's going to get the number 1 pick, along with Detroit. We look on the NFC side, you still have Arizona on top, leading by half a game, and your other division winners are Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and Dallas. And Dallas still leads the NFC least. And your right now your wild card teams consist of the Rams, Niners, and Washington. So it looks like you might have a sub 500 team making the playoffs, but right now, like I said, there's still lots of games still left to play. Like I said, it's still a 17-game season, so the team's still in the hunt for that playoff position. Is Minnesota, Atlanta, New Orleans, Philly, Carolina, and you probably even say the Giants and the Bears. Seattle is right now on the bubble. And the reason why I include Seattle and not the Jets is just because the way the NFC is going right now for that last couple positions in the playoffs. You could probably already pencil in the top 5, but it's that 6, 7, so it's still up in the air. But that's just the crazy season that's going right now with the NFL, and we're just in for some more wacky weeks coming up. And then probably some more games I'm going to end up losing. So yeah, I stopped my losing 7 games. Now I'm losing 8. I like I said, I don't know what I need to do, what type of ritual I need to perform. It's just, I don't know. I do better in the college picking than I do right now in the pros. I'm not sure why. But only time will tell. Can't see what happens, and we'll have to wait and see to how things kind of play out. We're gonna get the next video out to you guys on Thursday before the kickoff, the Cowboys and Saints, which should be a very interesting one. Well, hey, just go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know which game this past weekend was the one that shocked you the most. Was that Dallas overtime loss to Vegas? I don't know. Was it the Jets winning in Houston? Well, there, go ahead and smash that thumbs up for me. Give me a like. It helps, pleases the YouTube gods, helps this channel out. You also subscribe. Once you subscribe, you get that bell notification. Let you know next time I post a video. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.